Welcome to Asian Review. I'm your host, Bill Sharp. Our show today is The Mystery of the Erhu, and our guest is Dr. Tsun-Hui, Hawaii Pacific University faculty member who also teaches at Hawaii Tokai International. She's additionally a globally acclaimed Erhu musician and also is an accomplished Chinese martial arts expert. Welcome to Asian Review.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you. Well, the Erhu, I'm sure that a lot of our audience is really not that familiar with it. And could you, tell us first, how did you get interested in the Erhu? How did you get interested in Chinese music?
I don't know. I ask that question every day to myself.
And still no answer?
Still no answer. Yeah, this is not a very typical instrument for little kids to learn, back to that time when I was young. People usually like to learn violin.
You don't look so old now.
A little bit. Yeah. So when I was a little kid, like that was around second grade, I didn't really think I was looking for this instrument. But at one point, I want to study music, and so I went to a music school, and then they told me this is the only instrument nobody want to learn. So,
well, music school, was that like a very specialized high school?
Yeah, it's a specialized elementary school.
For creative arts and that sort of thing?
No, for Chinese music.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and so I got in, and they told me this is the only thing left. Oh, well, actually, there was actually another short story. So, in my school, we actually has two programs. One is for dance, and then another one is for music. I actually got auditioned into both, and I want to go to the dance one. So I told my mom I'm going to the dance. But then after 1 month after, I realized everybody is learning music. So I realized.
What kind of dance is this? This is like Tang Dynasty dance?
No,
Chinese dance?
ballet.
Ballet. Okay.
And so I realized I actually went into the wrong room for the whole month. So I asked my teacher, I say, what do I do now? And then she told me, well, everybody else already picked their instruments. This is the only thing left. Why don't you learn this? And I said, okay.
So now sometimes it's called a Chinese violin. Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
You can.
And now I understand, maybe I'm wrong about this, but this instrument originally came from Mongolia?
Nobody really knows, again.
Okay.
This instrument is actually, it was a folk instrument. It was not like, Chinese music has the pipa, some chord instruments. This was not, in the beginning, it was not the chord instruments. That means it was a folk instrument. In other words, not many people care about it in the chord. It was not, one of the refined instruments that everybody would care about.
What would be a refined instrument, a guzheng?
Maybe, I would say pipa, definitely. Those, in the court.
Pipa flute.
Yeah, they play in the court. They got their status. This one didn't get a status. Nobody really cares, at the time.
But you spent a whole lifetime with this instrument.
Yeah, and then so back to that time, nobody knows how this instrument was introduced to China. Even now, we still don't know. And yeah, so there are a lot of ethnomusicologists. They are fighting on the history of Erhu, but nobody really knows.
We should also mention that you have a PhD from Ohio State University in ethnomusicology?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, tell us about some of the parts here on the instrument.
Yeah, so you can see, when I play, I'm going to hold it up like this and on my leg. This part here is a snake skin. It used to be.
Snake skin.
Yeah. Well, nowadays you can still see people use a snake skin, but I have also another one. It is artificial snake skin, and then this is just wood, regular wood. The ball is always in between two strings. Maybe I don't know if you can see from here. The bow is always in between two strings. So I can only play one string at a time. There's no way I can play two strings. Many composers will try to write double strings like a violin, and then I said, no, I cannot do it. Yeah. So there are only two strings, bow in between, covered by snakeskin, and everything else is very simple.
Is that redwood?
Because it was a folk instrument, so it could be any
kind of wood.
Nowadays, the people like to use certain wood. I don't even know the English name, but there are many woods you can use for this instrument. Yeah. One more thing I want to point out is for this instrument there is no fingerboard and there is no fret. So for the musicians, we have to listen to the pitch by our ear. We don't have the fingerboard. We don't have the frets like a guitar. They have the scratch. Yeah, but this one I got to know where I'm going to press my string and how much pressure I'm going to use.
How about music? Is there written music for this instrument?
Yeah, nowadays, yes. I want to say, but for the beginning, let's say back to the long time ago when this instrument was introduced to China, because it was a folk instrument. Well, first of all, we don't know if they actually had the music, but we didn't find anything. Possibly, actually not, because we know writing is a very powerful authority in China. So usually only those chord musical instruments has the notation. So for the folk instruments, usually we have less or none notations.
Play by ear?
Play by ear. Yeah, usually.
Jam,
yeah.
Jamming on the erhu.
Of course. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so this instrument didn't really have the notation until, but later on it actually shares other notations with other instruments. So there are other notations for other instruments, but then we just borrow it. Yeah.
So do you ever use music or notation?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Is it like Western music with bass clef, treble clef, or pure Chinese music?
Yeah, nowadays, actually after 20th century, so after the beginning of the 20th century, during that time, China was really looking for Westernization. They're really looking for the Western ideas. So start at that time, who started to use notation. But the notation they used at that time was not the staff notation, but what was more like the number notation.
I think I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually very popular. Even now in Asia, it is still probably more popular than the staff notation. I would say more people know how to read the number notation rather than the staff notation.
Staff means Western.
Yeah, the Western, that fine lines with the curve. Yeah.
Bass clef, treble clef.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
We should probably also mention that you're a piano instructor.
Yeah, if nobody else is teaching, I would do it.
Oh, you're so modest. So modest.
Usually, I would not volunteer myself. Yeah, that's very typical way of music education in Taiwan. So many kids, they start with piano, and then, so I started piano when I was 4 years old.
I have this impression that mothers in Taiwan just love especially their daughters, to study piano. That's like a thing you've got to do. If you don't do that, there's something wrong.
Not really in my family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my parents never thought about me being a musician. I grew up in an athletic family. All of my family members, they all do some kind of professional sport.
Baseball?
My grandpa is a baseball player. He even played in the Olympics. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
but you went another way.
I went another way. I kind of, walking around. Like I told you, I auditioned the dance, and I got in. So
right.
I was.
Oh, now what kind of dance was that? Was ballet?
Yeah, it was for the ballet.
Do you still do that?
No. definitely
good
not.
exercise.
No,
Really
no,
good exercise.
No, but you don't want me to do that, right?
You're modest. You're so modest.
No.
But so do you practice the erhu every day?
Yeah,
How long?
definitely. Well, it depends. If I have concerts, definitely a lot. I don't know. I don't time it. And sometimes when I'm walking around, driving in a car, I think about the music ideas. I don't know if you consider that's practice. I do consider it's a
Well,
practice.
you sort of, it prepares you for practice.
Yeah, and that I do all the time. You know, even when I sleep, that's awful.
So do you get private lessons on the erhu?
I still, I give private lessons still. I have some local students. Some of them are second generations, Chinese generation. And some of them are just people who came to my concert and they want to learn.
You inspire them.
Yeah, I guess so. You can say so.
Did.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to put your website up on the board, your email later in the show, and then maybe you'll get a couple extra students.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now you're a Chinese instructor. Are you also a Taiwanese instructor?
Taiwanese? No, I don't.
You're from Kaohsiung, so I imagine you're a Taiwanese speaker.
I do speak Taiwanese.
Yeah.
There's hardly, I don't think you ever heard any Taiwanese class. It's a local language. People just speak. Nobody would learn it, you know.
At the University of Hawaii, I'm not sure if they still have it, but they did have Taiwanese classes.
I would believe so, yeah. But Taiwanese in Taiwan, actually, many young people cannot speak Taiwanese anymore. Yeah, because after World War II, when Chinese came to Taiwan, Taiwanese was prohibited for a long time. So I still remember when I was a school kid, when I was in elementary school, I still remember if I speak Taiwanese at school, they will give me a fine, or they sometimes will give me a sign, a sheet paper, and then hold it for like 20 minutes in front of the public and say, 江国语. Yeah, 江国语.
Speak Mandarin.
Speak Mandarin, no Taiwanese, something like that, as a punishment.
How much was the fine?
I can't remember, but it's something like one Taiwanese dollars or 5 Taiwanese dollars. It's really small, but it's more like you get embarrassed and you get shamed by speaking your mother tongue. You know, it's not much about the money, I would say. Yeah.
Those were in the bad old days.
Yeah, it was in the bad old days.
Right.
But nowadays, the government actually try to promote. It's kind of funny that the government try to have Taiwanese class at school now. It just doesn't make sense. Why do you need to teach somebody's mother tongue?
So if I'm going to learn the erhu, how long is it going to take me to, be able to play at least a simple song?
It depends on how much music background you have. Sometimes I want to say the less is the better. Sometimes people know too much about music and they come to me and they told me they want to read the staff notation. They cannot read the number notation, and I said, just give all your music background away, before you come to me. I don't know. I want to say maybe somewhere I can bring a student to nursing home play for, entertain those old people. Pretty much fun, within 6 months. You can do that.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Well, I think this would be a good point for us to go on to break.
Sure.
And when we come back, we're going to watch our guest perform. So you're watching Asian Review. I'm your host, Bill Sharp, and we'll be right back, so don't go away.
Aloha, my name is Stephen Philip Katz. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm the host of Shrink Wrap Hawaii, where I talk to other shrinks. Did you ever want to get your head shrunk? Well, this is the best place to come to pick one. I've been doing this. We must have 60 shows with a whole bunch of shrinks that you can look at. I'm here on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock every other Tuesday. I hope you are too. Aloha.
You're watching ThinkTech Hawaii, which streams live on thinktechhawaii.com, uploads to youtube.com, and broadcasts on cable OC16 and Alelo 54. Great content for Hawaii from ThinkTech.
Living in this crazy world, so caught up in the confusion, nothing is making sense for me and you. We've got to give a little love, have a little hope, make this world a little better. Try a little more, harder every more, let's do what we can.
Welcome back to Asian Review. I'm your host, Bill Sharp. My guest today is Dr. Tsun-Hui. She is a world-acclaimed expert on the erhu, and also is a martial arts expert, and also is a Chinese instructor, so she's very diverse. During the first part of the show, we were talking about the erhu, as you see it here on the table, and now we're going to watch our guest perform. And then maybe after that we'll have a few comments. Okay. So, Robert, can we put the first video on? that was nice. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're a very serious musician. I could tell by the way you're playing.
Oh yeah, when I play, I have different personality, very different.
Yeah, very serious looking.
Yeah, I was in different world when I play.
Tell us a little bit about what you were playing.
Yeah, so that is a very traditional piece. It's a very traditional tune. We call that traditional piece. When we say traditional, it means not too long, actually, maybe about 100 years. That's it. There was, like I said, there was no really erhu music until early 20th century. So
Really?
yeah, because there was no notation for erhu. Yeah.
Right.
So there was no really erhu composition for erhu until really late. Yeah. So that piece was about from around. I want to say from last century, so late 20th century.
You know, a question that pops into my mind. During the colonial period in Taiwan, when Taiwan was part of Japan, was the erhu played in Taiwan at that time? It was only after 1949.
The erhu was played in Taiwan back to that time. Although I want to say it was not as much as after the Chiang Kai-shek came to Taiwan.
Okay.
Yeah, but erhu was already in Taiwan. Because before Chiang Kai-shek came to Taiwan, there were Chinese people in Taiwan. Yeah, so definitely erhu music there.
You know, it seems like every instrument has a special emotional impact on the listener. What's the special emotional impact of the erhu?
I don't know. You have to experience that by yourself, I guess.
It's different for everybody.
Yeah, it's so personal. That's what I always say. These instruments is very, very personal.
Sometimes it sounds a little sad to me.
No.
No?
I would not say that.
Okay.
I feel happy every time when I play this. In fact, actually, I am making a CD with two other great musicians.
Great.
Yeah, both are Hawaiian musicians. So we are making the Hawaiian CD with these Chinese instruments. It's going to be cross-culture.
Fusion.
Fusion, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so for that CD, everything sounds so nice and sweet. It's not sad at all.
Well, here's a chance for you to tell us a little bit about your CD. When do you think it'll be coming out?
I hope it will be out by the third quarter of 2017.
2017.
So almost here.
And it's being recorded here.
Yeah, we actually already finished every song. Most of them are Hawaiian songs. There are two Chinese songs, Mori Hua, that's a very, very popular tune. And then we are going to compose two songs.
Moliwa, okay.
Yeah, so there will be two songs. It's just our compositions. Yeah.
Well, we're coming down to our last minute here. And it's kind of an unfair question on the last minute, but you're from Kaohsiung, right?
Yes.
So there's a big mayoral race coming up in Kaohsiung.
Big mayor.
Yeah, election for mayor.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean? Yeah, I think
Changju will no longer be mayor.
I know, but that's the end of next year.
Pretty soon, I heard.
Yeah, still more than 1.5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
any idea who will be the next mayor of Kaohsiung?
I don't know. I mean, Tsun-Hui has been doing really, really good job.
Okay.
I vote her before. I'm proud of her as female leader. But,
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I think with us, the clock has caught up to us again. Unfortunately, the clock moves faster than we want it to move. And I want to thank you very much for joining us today and tell us a little bit about the erhu. And I want to thank you for viewing. And follow me on Facebook, Bill Sharp at Facebook, also on LinkedIn. And if you happen to miss any episodes of Asia in Review, you can go to https://asianreview.net and see all the 2017 episodes. We'll see you next week when my guest will be Mr. Sid Goldsmith, a retired U.S. diplomat who's lived in Taiwan for quite some time, and will comment on U.S. policy in Asia. See you then.